Welcome to PsychicBent. My name is Carrie.
And I'm Kim. We are two sisters wanting to help other psychics learn and grow in their abilities and to help educate about spirits, angels, and everything psychic.
Welcome back, PsychicBent listeners, for another episode. We're really excited about this one, and I know we say that every single time, don't we, Kim?
Yeah, I think so.
But we get excited very easily, so it's good. It's all good. But we're going to talk about spiritual awakening. I think it's a topic that we touch upon and we kind of, we go there and we don't go there. So we decided we're going to go there and kind of possibly do a little deep dive into what a spiritual awakening really is. So Kim, you want to take it from there?
Oh, sure, Carrie. I know from the very beginning when we started doing the podcast, we would always talk about our spiritual journey. And that's really what the spiritual awakening is to me. Now, you can have a spiritual awakening in other religions. I mean, that could be your spiritual awakening and your spiritual calling. Or you could have the type of spiritual awakenings that we have experienced through our psychic abilities and development and such. But I like to call, my spiritual awakening as my spiritual journey. Because, there's times whenever you first start having your awakening and you're on your path, because I've been on many paths in my life, and you stop and think, is this the right path for me? Is this the right journey? And anytime you begin that new thing, whether it's Christianity, whether it's, whatever it is that your spiritual journey is, you do question it. I think there's always a time when you feel enlightened whenever you start beginning those different paths. And then there comes the point in time in those paths where you're like, wait a minute, this just doesn't feel right to me. And then you find and search the next thing that may actually be resonating with you. Would you agree with that type of explanation there?
I do, because as you're starting out, you're almost like a small child spiritually.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to work through. You may be on a particular path for this time of your life, and then that path no longer serves you, but you've learned things that are helping you to get to the other path, is kind of how I look at it. So as you are maturing spiritually, then your path kind of moves into a different direction. So like if you were raised in a psychic family that was an actively practicing psychic family where you're encouraged at a very small age to use your abilities, and you're taught at a young age to use your abilities, so your path is going to be totally different than those of us that are developing as we go and not realizing what's going on. So that path is, because there's so much is scary when you're a little infant in your spirituality.
Yeah.
I mean, things you don't understand, things you don't know. If you were raised in a very religious upbringing, then, things like tarot can be very scary.
Yeah.
You don't know what it does. You don't understand how it actually is a tool that helps you, or divining, or even just using your psychic gifts. So I think that we do start on a lot of paths to try to get us to be more where we're really finding out what we want to be when we grow up, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of it is whenever you first have this idea in your head, we'll just put it as an idea, that you want to try this path, that this feels like a way you want to go.
Yeah.
A lot of it comes from not just a moment. A lot of times you're in a mindset of maybe something has happened that has been traumatic or sad or confusing, or you're just so fed up with the day-to-day that life's purpose isn't quite what you feel like it should be. And that is what draws you to a different spiritual awakening. And that's whenever you're really opening yourself up for a new change in your life.
And I think that spirit puts things in your path to make you realize you're not on the right path, because it doesn't happen. It's not like bam, I'm going to change my path today and do another path tomorrow, and bam, I'm going to change that path the next day. Because you're going along, trucking along, and all of a sudden you get all these roadblocks.
Mm-hmm.
So things they're going, and they seem to go going smooth, and all of a sudden, you've got a roadblock, and you're looking around like, I don't like how, no, this isn't right. I'm not feeling it, so now I'm going to change paths. And a lot of people are afraid to get on that different path.
Yeah.
And they stifle their spiritual growth that way because they're not open to try the different path. But it's like how we joke where spirit has to thump you on the head sometimes to get you off the path.
Yep.
The more that you're intent on going down the wrong path, the more issues that you're going to have. I mean people like to walk up to us, and I'm sure it happens to a lot of our listeners. You're psychic, you're giving off a vibe, and so whether it's your psychic vibe or your empath vibe or all your vibes are shooting off, and you've got the one person that comes up to you and they want to start talking about their spiritual life.
Mm-hmm.
I get a lot of craft shows because the way I set up my table, one end has the woo-woo, so those that know what that is gravitate over there, and the ones that don't go to the other side. There's no promoting anything. It's just one side of the table is this, the other is that. And, I had a craft show, not to get off the topic, but I had a craft show at work. It was an employee-only craft show, and gal walks up, and she's like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not doing any of my spiritual stuff anymore. I'm not doing anything like this. And I said, well, why? Well, me and my boyfriend, we did it together, and now, he broke up with me, and so I just, I'm just not, doing it. And, that psychic thing, of course, is kicking in, and I'm talking to her, and I said, well, maybe because you were doing it for your boyfriend, and it wasn't your path.
Mm-hmm.
Because if it was your path, I don't know about any of the listeners, but when I go through a breakup, I get more spiritual. I'm focusing on my stuff. And so it's like, well, maybe you need to find a different path that you need to be on. And so it sounded to me like she was trying to be on this path that her boyfriend was on, and it seemed good when they were doing it together. But her spiritual awakening she was still in that baby stage, because she wasn't really, doing what she felt compelled to do. She was basically on his path.
Or she could have just shut it off because it reminded her of him.
Yes. But I was gleaning that was not the case.
Ah.
What I was getting was, and I see what your point is, maybe, horrible memories or made her miss him more or whatnot. But it was just kind of, she was lost because she felt like she couldn't do that practice anymore. And it's like, well, if that's your path, and that's where you are supposed to be at in this aspect of your spiritual awakening, you would know what to do, because you'd be drawn to things. Certain things would pop up on the internet that would get like, oh, that sounds interesting. Let me check into this, or to nudge you along the path.
Mm-hmm.
But she was just, I just don't think she knew what to do.
Right.
I was trying to, because I can't tell her what to do. I can't tell her what path she needs to be on. And she kind of was wanting me to tell her, and I'm like, okay, I'm a psychic. I'm not a fortune teller. I can only give you the information that spirit wants me to give you. And basically, you need to find your path. Go back to what practices that you did together that resonated with you. And if none of it resonates with you, then you need to explore other options. Sometimes, when you're on a spiritual journey, it's kind of, or like anything, fun to have somebody else along for the ride.
Yeah, true.
But then you don't have to take responsibility.
Yeah.
If you're boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, trekking down the same path, because it's really unlikely that you both are on the same path. You could still have a relationship and be very successful, but rarely do I have a mate that's on my path,
Right,
you
because
know?
we're all on our own separate journeys.
Exactly. So if you're putting too much emphasis on, and I've heard it before where there's been a breakup, it was something the couples did together and their, whatever their practice was spiritually, and then there's a breakup. Well, that breakup happened for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
One of y'all wasn't doing what you were supposed to, you know, and you know how it works. Okay, I'm telling you, you're on the wrong path. Thump, thump, thump. All right, we're just going to remove this person out of your life so you get on the right path,
Yeah.
or get where you're supposed to be, maturing in your spiritual awakening. I mean, one of the things that is huge. You still there?
Yes, I was coughing.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. I heard a little noise. I'm like, okay, I hung up on her again. That happens, by the way, guys. I hang up on Kim periodically because I'll touch my earbud just to adjust it. And oh, yeah, that's the one you don't touch. She gets hung up on quite a bit. So when you think about it, one of the stages of a spiritual awakening is getting rid of ego.
Yep.
And my thought process is, and tell me, Kim, if you got something totally different, but my thought process is if you're in a mate or really good friend or just a friend or family member are trying to go the same path, ego is going to be involved. Because now you've got two people trying to do a spiritual path. So you have double the ego that can be happening. And I always find that, now, see, Kim and I kind of do two different paths. Wouldn't you say my path's a little different than yours?
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's okay because we respect each other's path because she's Kim. She's got her own stuff. I can't worry about that. I
Yep.
can worry about my stuff. You know, Now we talk about our paths, and there's part of her path she doesn't discuss with me, and vice versa, because it's none of my business.
Mm-hmm.
It's because that's her path. But when you got two people trying to go down the same path, I think it's a little harder to get rid of ego
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's almost develops into a competition, or one person has to be in charge. One person has to be right. And you're not going to go further because that's like one of the very first stages of your spiritual awakening is getting rid of ego and trying to identify ego and putting ego in the back of the car. And and maybe, hey, you know what? If any of the listeners have made this work, I would love to hear about it. It's just been my experience with just watching people try to go down that spiritual path, that someone always has to be right. Someone has to tell you what to do. Whereas if you're doing your path on your own, you could still have friends. You could still have a romantic relationship. You could still have a family member that you're discussing your beliefs in. But there's no ego, there's mutual respect.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, I agree. But what you also have to be aware of is that sometimes while you're trying to get your ego under control, you do have those outside forces, like, it sounds like a bad thing, but you do have relationships, whether it's friendships or whatever, on the outside that you deal with every day that may be fueling your ego to come back in because they're not comfortable with how you are changing in front of them.
Right, because you are going to change. You have to.
Yes.
You can't evolve and not change.
Right.
And if dealing with your ego is just one step, and the spiritual awakening, this is a lifelong path. It's not a one and done kind of thing
Right.
because you're evolving and you're growing. So that's why it's so important to control ego, because otherwise, how do you, to me, is if your ego is going crazy and it's all about me, there's no we, it's just me and I. If you're me and I all the time, you're not doing anything spiritual.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Now, having said that, there's a difference between, hey, Kim, I had this psychic reading. This would happen. What do you think?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not really me. I'm asking, what do you think?
Right.
Oh, I made somebody cry again. That's not ego. That's me dealing with the empath emotion of, yes, the message was important, but I still felt their pain when they cried. It's really a thought process that you remember we talked about gratitude on the last episode,
Mm-hmm.
and we talked about mindfulness.
Right.
And you almost have to have a lot of mindful intentions with putting ego in the back seat. And some people even kind of talk about the death of ego. I don't believe you could do that, but I think probably if you were walking the Buddhism life, you probably could, because that's a very strong commitment there. But I don't think you could, in my walk, I don't think I could ever put ego to death, because I deal with other people, and it's human nature, and people like to poke a bear.
Yeah.
Or you have something bad happen to you at work, and it's beyond your control, and you just want to be me and I at that point, because you want to be right, and that person was wrong, and that's ego right there.
Mm-hmm.
So it is difficult to, in my personal belief, and Kim, you may not agree, but I don't think you could actually put ego to death. But, a lot of articles do talk about that. And like I said, there is a spiritual belief of that. And to those people that have reached that level in their spiritual awakening, I salute you, because Carrie's not there yet. And probably never will, with my expectation that I don't think it could ever be put to death.
Yeah.
But Spirit has shown me wrong before. So here we go.
Well, that to me, I can't even visualize a world with totally no ego at all on my part, because it has been so predominant in the majority of my life, So,
Yes.
but,
Well, we are in an age group, or not age group, but we're living in a time period where you have influencers.
mm-hmm.
You watch any of that stuff, that's all ego right there.
Oh, yeah.
You go on to social media, and it's who can put more pictures of themselves with some sort of filter on. That's ego. And it happens so subtly. I don't think you realize when it becomes an obsession for people.
Mm-hmm.
But just because it's on Facebook, it isn't real. Doesn't mean it's true, And when you see someone on Facebook and you've never met them in real life, and you meet them in real life, and you're like, oh, wow, what program are you using? For that? Because your eyes really aren't 3 times as large as they look like on Facebook.
Yeah.
So we're surrounded every day with just ego. And then if you follow any of the celebrities, which I don't watch any award shows, because it's too much. I can't handle the energy that comes off that. So I haven't watched a CMA or a Grammy or an Emmy in probably 2 decades, because it's too much of their ego. Doesn't resonate with me,
Right. Yep.
And when you're being pelted with this every day, well, what is it that you inherently do? Mimic. If there's an actress that you like how they say a certain phrase, don't you kind of use that phrase?
Yep.
And I could tell you, back in the day when the airplane movies came out, we could probably quote 90% of that movie.
Yeah.
It's really stupid lines, but they were funny.
They were funny.
Yeah.
For us.
For that time period. But that's how easily we are influenced. I mean, somebody would say one word, and someone would come back from a line from Airplane because that was the word. And that's how easy we are influenced. So if you are around ego a lot, and you're trying to kill your ego, you're either going to act like they do, because that's what we do, or you're going to be very agitated, and you don't know why you're agitated. Because, you've worked so hard, your ego, and now they're annoying to you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
So you have 2 ways you're going to go. You're either going to emulate their behavior, and you see that a lot with people that are mean.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to talk to you about this person, but you don't know I've already talked to them about you. But, so then there's that mean girl mentality, which is rampant on TV platforms, social media, things like that. and you're getting pulled in, and it's easy to do. If you've got someone who's really good at manipulating, they can get you pulled in. But when you start working on your spiritual awakening and you start working on that ego, that little light switch pops in and you're like, oh, and it becomes annoying to you
Yeah.
because you're so used to you're no longer I and me. That kind of pushes that person out of your life, which is a good thing because they're negative for you to be around. You're not going to grow as a psychic.
Right. So there's different stages to, I think, to whenever you are going through a spiritual awakening. And a lot of times when you're first starting it, like we said from the very, very beginning, you just feel drawn to certain things. You may have a new interest in the unexplainable things like UFOs and angels and spirit and stuff like that. You're all of a sudden getting this feeling to start looking into stuff like that, to ghost hunting shows and such. This is where our path went, right?
Yes, that's where we started.
That's where we
Well,
started.
after living in a haunted house, I think that was a come by it honestly kind of thing. But
Yeah.
yeah, but you do start to look for new hobbies or a new job
Right.
or new people in your life.
Or just searching new information on things that you didn't even think you could have been interested in,
Yeah.
or that all of a sudden drawing you in to check this out or that out, and you start researching it. Well, that's you're being pulled towards. It's like a magnetic pull towards the path you should check into at that point in time. You're being drawn to the path, to the journey that is resonating with you.
Yeah. I think I drive Kim crazy with all my little crafty paths I do. I've got a lot of plates I'm spinning on that stick or pole or whatever it is. But it's like, I mean, it's, I can't help it. It's just like spirit puts it in my mind.
Yeah.
I have to learn this. I have to learn this. And I'm like, oh, I have to do this. I have to learn this. And it's just like that drive. I've taken, classes and stuff, and, some of it resonated with me and some of it didn't.
Right. Exactly.
It was like, okay. And then later on, I want to revisit it because now I'm in a different stage of my awakening.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
A lot of people do experience, some people call it the dark night of the soul, which is dramatic and it sounds like some sort of ominous music should be playing in the background. But it's often the darkest, lowest point of the journey. And in this phase, you just feel like it's drastic. Everything is drastic. You isolate yourself from others.
Mm-hmm.
You could be a phase of depression, and this is the point where I guess it's kind of like the lowest phase of your spiritual journey. And that's why it's kind of close to the beginning.
Right.
Because that is also, with the ego and then that, because you do lose a lot of people when you start your path.
That's true.
It's not that you're walking around going, oh, you're too good for me now, I'm doing this. It's just spirit removes those that can influence you in the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
And then brings people into your life that you never thought you would meet that get it. They get you. They get where you're going with it. And they don't have to be on the same path as you.
Right.
Preferably, it's better that they're not. But, like I've got friends that are in all sorts of different types of paths.
Mm-hmm.
And I ask questions and I want, because I want to know things. And some things that resonate with me and some things like, well, that's great. That's working out great for you. Not for me, but it's working out great for you because I can respect their path. But when things start to fall away from you, that is the dark night of the soul. And that's where it can be a little lonely at this part of your journey.
Yeah.
But then comes the next part where you become the sponge. Because now you want to research this, and Carrie has to quit buying books off Amazon because then she wants to look at this, and then she bought this book. She's like, oh yeah, that's going to the free bookcase at work, and it disappears. So I got it for somebody else. It's just that's how it is with spiritual awakening, and it's not the same for everybody.
Right.
So it's not a textbook that you don't need to walk around going, oh yeah, okay, I tick that box. I tick that box. Me shifting into a new habit could mean something totally different than Kim shifting into a new habit.
That's right.
So, you can't say Well, that didn't happen to me. Kim told me that this happened for her in her spiritual journey. She started this new habit. Well, that new habit didn't happen for me. Well, maybe your new habit was so subtle you didn't realize it.
Exactly.
That's happened.
Yep.
I mean, how I got into jewelry making
Mm-hmm.
was totally weird. I walked into a store at the mall and, oh, these stones look pretty. Oh, that's nice. And I bought some stones. And I'm like, well, now what do I do with them? Went to Michael's and got me some cheap wire. And, well, I wonder if how I can make this like into a pendant.
Mm-hmm.
That's weird. you know. And 3 or 4 YouTube videos down the road, and here we are. It just could be a random thing
Right.
that you just never would think that you would do.
I agree. One of the things that I have experienced on my spiritual awakening is that pull towards nature. I mean, we always went camping and stuff and played outside and everything
Yes.
as kids, but that shut off for me at one point in time where I didn't want to do that anymore. I was done with it. I didn't like it. I didn't like being out in nature or anything. I just felt safer at home is what it was. It was an internal feeling safer at home. But now I have felt this real pull towards nature, and I just really enjoy just being outside. I don't even have to be doing anything outside. I just feel at peace there. And that is something that also happens during a spiritual awakening. You are drawn to outside because that's where all the energy is. That's where all the connectivity is. It is outside. You could sit there and just admire, which is one of my favorite things, is just sitting there watching a hummingbird or hummingbirds, if you know, at a feeder. It just relaxes me. I'm in awe of what is going on, and I feel I'm connecting with them as well. It's just the connection with nature. So that spiritual awakening can help you be drawn outside and connect with nature, so you're honoring Mother Earth and everything out there as well, and you're being drawn to that.
Yep.
While we're talking about all this, with Carrie talking about ego and people dropping off of your area, your world,
your radar.
your radar, people falling off or whatever you want to call it. A lot of that has to also do with things that we've talked about before with your vibrations and your frequency. So as you are starting this awakening and you're experiencing these little hits of intuition and little hits of visions and whatever psychic abilities you may be developing or maybe starting to reactivate, or however you want to talk about it, or just the spiritual journey itself, you're actually starting to raise your vibrations and your frequencies. And that's where that dark place is that you were talking about. You're slowly rising up out of that as you start trying to connect with your spiritual awakening. And as that rises, sometimes it rises pretty quick right off the bat because you're just so into it. You're so excited about it. You're trying to read everything you can, research what you can, and you're just feeling all this excitement. And your body does have to stop every once in a while and catch up to those vibrations because it's called a stall out. You kind of stall and you feel like, oh, wow, what happened? You kind of feel a little I don't know, off kilter for a little bit because you are raising the energy around you and in through you and your vibrations and such. So don't be disappointed if all of a sudden you kind of hit like a plateau in your development. It's just your body catching up, and then you can start again. You'll feel, okay, it's time to go again. Because I've felt that myself where I was really all excited and doing this and doing that and doing that and everything. And then all of a sudden, I just was like, oh, wait, I just need to take a breather here. Because I felt like I was just getting overwhelmed by everything psychically. Well, I get overwhelmed anyway. But you know what I'm trying to explain is just that sometimes you just got to...
Your mind can only process so much information too.
Right.
And sometimes it just needs to okay, you need to take a moment because sometimes too much knowledge gets muddled.
Right.
Too much learning.
Right. And then you get numb and you could get depressed or feel disconnected then because you're like, this is just too much. I just can't handle it. But that's okay. Just take your breathers. Give yourself a little bit of compassion that we always talk about as well. Show yourself compassion and
Some
understanding that
grace.
it's just for you to, okay, just take a breather. You're on a good path. Just give yourself a moment and then continue on with it. Because, like I said, I hit a hard plateau at one point in time. I was like, oh, this is just too much. And then stepped back a little bit. Didn't do a whole bunch of research or whatever to try to really absorb a lot of knowledge and try to really dive in. And I got overwhelmed,
Yes.
And
And it's easy, especially being left-brained.
right. Especially that way.
Yeah, but when you think about it, when you're reading all these articles, you're doing all this information, but are you practicing what you're reading?
Right. I wasn't giving myself even a chance to do
Yeah,
that.
right. So I think Spirit kind of does a little mute button.
Yeah.
You're learning a lot of stuff, but you're not learning a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And that's easy because I'll find myself getting these modes that I want to do this, I'm reading that, and what am I doing? And then it'll be a stagnant moment. And I think that's Spirit's way of saying, pause. Yeah, you read that, but what are you going to do about it? Did it resonate with you? Did it not resonate with you?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have 2 books that I was trying to read simultaneously, and I had to stop, and I still haven't finished reading those 2 books.
I can't do that. I can't read 2 books at one time.
Well, they were both spiritual books, 2 totally different topics, and I found them interesting, but and I delved right into them right away, and then all of a sudden it was like, this isn't the time for that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I will finish them when I'm supposed to finish them.
Right.
But I figured when that happened, it was because a lot of spiritual books have exercises in them.
Yeah, they do.
I don't like that.
I don't either.
So that's part of the problem.
Yep.
Because sometimes, I mean, I get that exercise is there for a reason, but it takes me back to school.
Yes.
So I'll be honest, there's an exercise in there. I may or may not do it, which defeats the purpose of reading said book or said
Right.
article.
Right. Yeah.
So sometimes, we get in our own way when doing research and in our own spiritual awakening. We do get in our own way. And I think one of the reasons is that we expect the spiritual awakening to be like, bam, yes, I'm awake now, instead of realizing that you can't rush it.
And that there's work involved. But that's on any
There's work
journey.
involved. Yes. And it could take months,
Yeah.
years, decades.
Mm-hmm.
It depends on if you're being stubborn and not getting on the right path.
Right.
It depends on if you're not doing the exercises in the book.
Yep.
A lot of different things. But I think that what a lot of people do in this journey, I'm not saying all, but a lot of people, they're doing the spiritual awakening. They get past that depressed stage and they're excited. And they want to learn. And that's what we're talking about. You want to get all this knowledge and everything. And, you get a new coach, you get teachers, you're looking into healing practices. And what can happen is what works for someone else may not necessarily work for you.
Right.
So if you get yourself a spiritual coach, and that's why we always talk about go with what resonates with you. It's the big focus is it resonating with you? You get a coach and like 3 sessions in, you're trying to rush this process, and the coach is saying, slow down, slugger.
Yeah.
You got to learn to walk.
Yep.
And then there's a clash because you don't want to slow down because you're all excited. And so that's a good example where someone else can't tell you how to be on your path. You may have to crash and burn before you slow down, because that's what happens when you're learning to walk. You fall.
Yep.
And we learn not to fall after we've done it a couple times. So
some of us still fall. So just saying.
Yeah. Some of us are gravity challenged.
Yes, definitely.
Yes. Yeah. So, keep in mind that the soul sessions is what they basically call this stage, can last a long time
Mm-hmm.
or last a month.
Right.
But you just because Carrie says this is what she does on her spiritual path, that may not resonate with you. So if you try to do it, you're going to fall.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That's just how it is. And sometimes I'll be in a book that I start and I'm really into it, and then all of a sudden, there's this, that's not my path. Where'd you come from? And then I kind of then I want to skip that chapter to see, well, do we get back to where we were? And that just kind of resonates that, well, part of that book resonated with me. So part of that path was mine.
Yeah. Right.
So when you start reading and meditating and looking at these books and articles, or follow people on YouTube that, are gurus and whatnot, you can get something out of it, but it may not all resonate with you.
Right.
If it all resonates with you, follow, like, subscribe, go with it. But if it doesn't, then, if you're not getting anything out of it, then that is not your path. But it's possible to read something that's not your journey, but you still get something out of that book or out of that article
Right.
that helps you on your path.
I totally agree.
Before the podcast started, Kim was joking. She goes, "No, you're not going to make me do all the talking. You're not going to leave me hanging." I'm like, "No, trust me. I've had a lot of caffeine today. We're good." We're good.
You never leave me hanging anyway. I don't know why I said that. So,
Well, I think it's the way I said, "Yep, I'm flipping it to you. I'm doing the intro and I'm flipping it to you." And you're like, "Huh?"
huh?
It's like, "Huh?"
Yeah.
That happens a lot.
Exactly.
So I think another stage in your spiritual awakening is surrendering and allowing. You have to let go of some things. Ego, we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Letting go of what your beliefs were taught to you growing up. Those limiting beliefs. When you have grown up in a highly religious environment, there's a lot of dogma, a lot of labels that aren't necessarily true. And so when you're starting your spiritual journey, I think one of the most difficult steps is allowing and surrendering to your path,
Mm-hmm.
because you're concerned about what mom and dad are going to think. What's my family going to think? What's my spouse or significant other going to think? What are my friends going to think? Work, they're going to think I'm cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs all of a sudden. Because as being a young psychic or a psychic who's in the closet, this is the scary part.
Yep.
Allowing and surrendering to your path. And it's like we said earlier, you're going to lose people in your life too.
Yeah.
And you're going to lose people very close to you. That happens.
Yeah, it does. But this step, the letting go, it's not impossible, but it is a challenge if you are a people-pleasing person and you're
Yes.
always trying to keep the peace with people.
But see, if you're always doing that and not having a healthy boundary, you're never going to develop the way you should, because you're not taking care of yourself.
Right.
Spiritually, physically, mentally.
Yep. That's what I'm saying. With people, if you're a people pleaser,
yeah,
and I'm raising my hand,
you need to stop. Yeah. You have both up?
I did have both up. That was a hard thing to try to get past. And I still am a people pleaser at times. That creeps in every once in a while, just like ego does too, and everything. That's all part of it, and still want to be the peacekeeper. But,
well, and sometimes you have a trigger.
Yeah.
That triggers a response.
Yeah.
Whether it's a fight or flight response, or I don't want conflict. I'm just going to please everybody. I've had a rough day. I'm tired. I don't want to mess with it. Okay. And that's easy to do.
Yeah.
But as you are a people pleaser, you're going to go stagnant in your spiritual growth. And we've talked many times about having healthy boundaries and holding those boundaries. And that's very difficult. But if you've got a domineering person in your life, you have to have a boundary there.
Yeah, and those are difficult to learn to implement, but you can do it. You can do it.
And maintain.
Yes, and you can do it.
Because you don't get sucked back into it. But that's where the people pleasing comes in, because you're just trying to not have to deal with their domineering ways.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So when you surrender and allow, and you put up these beautiful boundaries, you got to realize that the universe and spirits got your back.
Yeah.
So you're not really surrendering and allowing the unknown. Spirit and the universe, you'll be uplifted, you'll be guided, and you'll be provided for. And so that makes the process a lot easier, knowing that. We talk about how all these things happened and you ended up being late for work.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was the universe and spirit intervening to keep you safe, to protect you, to get you in the right spot at the right time.
Right.
And so it's very important to allow that surrender, because you can't walk a walk and talk a talk if you're not 100% in, and that is surrendering and allowing it to happen. I don't want to ask spirit, oh, I want to manifest this, but maybe I don't. That's not surrendering and allowing. That's questioning and second guessing and show me proof. I mean, I've done that in my baby walk, like, okay, show me the feather, or ask for something outlandish. And I have to wonder if spirit's like, this again, we got another one, like, how many feathers do you want to see and what color,
Yeah.
but we all do it.
Right.
But that's kind of not surrendering and allowing. It's more of a, well, I'll believe you if you do this for me.
Right.
Which is ego.
Yes.
Because it's for me.
Right.
We've all done it. I've done it.
Sure. Or you've also had the mindset, as I have experienced as well, am I deserving of this?
Yeah.
Thought, well,
yeah.
Am I worthy of this at all? Because I think a lot of self-conscious people that don't think, the phrase is just escaping me, Carrie.
You're not worthy? What have I done to deserve this?
Yes. Yeah.
But see, that's ego.
Right. That part of ego, the self-deprecating stuff, that sometimes is where you hit before a spiritual awakening, or you've had it for a long time. And those are a little challenging to work through, but you can do it. You just have to believe that what it is you are working for right now is for your better self, and know that you are worthy of this. We all are. We are all worthy of this spiritual journey, the spiritual awakening that we're wanting to go to and that we're being drawn to, and accept that. And that's your letting go. You have to be willing to accept what it is offering you as well, and that you allow yourself to accept it and know that you're worthy of it and you deserve it, just like everybody else. It's okay.
Yeah, yes, and I think a lot of people, from varying degrees of that happens to everybody.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Whether it's a little bit or you get the supersized meal here, it happens. I think everybody has that issue. It's just nature. It's human nature. It's how we were brought up. It's the old belief standards.
Yeah.
Right.
But
I think that your final stage of your awakening, and it's always going, so it's final doesn't mean once you get here you're done, but it's just doing what you love daily, because that's like one of the highest forms of happiness. Just like you love to go outside, and if weather's permitting, where are you at? Outside. Whether you're walking or you're watching, the eagle that likes to show up in your field, or the deer in your yard. I mean, you've got a lot that happens in your yard, and I think a lot of people don't understand that joy is your birthright and peace is your priority.
Right.
And when you get to the stage where ego is controlled by you, you're going to start honoring yourself by doing the things that bring you joy, whether, it's service to the world, or just living and doing things you're passionate about. Yeah, I've got Krista, the apothecary. That's her passion, is apothecary work.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of work
Yeah.
to make a tincture. It's a lot of work, and it's you can't turn it out today because it's got to sit for so many days, and you got to shake it every day. And if you've got an entire website full of these tinctures, that's a lot of work.
Yeah, definitely.
And you have to keep track of how old is it, because there is a shelf life,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a lot of work. But it's not if it's your passion.
Right.
And that's her service to others, is giving much needed health benefited items for you, whatever it is you need.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's, a cord cutting candle set, or different colored candles because we've got the candle magic, different colored candles for different things, or a tincture because you're not feeling well, so you need some oregano oil because that's a natural antibiotic.
Right.
Just different things. That's her passion. And you're going to be successful when you do things that are in your passion. And sometimes, so we are passionate about things, and all of a sudden, like what you said earlier, you get stifled.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what happens to me when I'll get a little stifled. I'm like, okay, well, I need to, I got to because being creative makes me happy. Making things makes me happy.
Right.
I get stressed out if I don't feel like I have enough product going to a craft show. And, sometimes it's hard to cut out the time to do the things that make you happy, but you have to try.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, the other day, I was asked if I would do 3 classes with the Girl Scouts to help them get their jewelry making badge.
And who knew that
So,
was in Girl Scouts,
I know. So I have 2 girls that I went, it'll be 2 weeks this Thursday, and did the first class. And this is because there's only 2 in that age that could get that badge. Thank goodness. Because one was Chatty Cathy and one wouldn't say anything. So I was very lucky that they both weren't the same personality.
Mm-hmm.
So I was grateful for that, because I thought if they both were Chatty Cathy, I'm in trouble. But if they both would just sit there and say nothing. And so I'm trying to show them how to do a very simple, because I'm trying to think what is age appropriate. And of course, keep in mind, there could be no woo-woo.
Yes, true.
And it's funny that the girl that asked me, she goes, I remember these are girls and it's a Girl Scout thing and parents are going to be there. I said, you're telling me no woo-woo? And she goes, yes, no woo-woo. And I said, I wasn't going to do woo-woo, because that's not my place to instruct children.
Right.
That is not my path. And it's not my place to talk about my beliefs with someone else's children.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Everybody's got their own path to figure out. And I said, don't worry, I'm not going to do the woo-woo stuff. So I'm trying to show them how to do, and there's still work. Even though they're a little older girls, that hand-eye coordination thing
Mm-hmm.
is very important. Making jewelry.
Yes.
So I would have to go and show them from different angles, how to do it. And the one girl, Chatty Cathy, she goes, "You're gonna have to hurry up, or we're not gonna be done in time." I'm like, well, dang. It's like, okay, but. It's been because I was thinking, why would Spirit put this path of the Girl Scouts to me? Why?
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, don't know. Gonna go with it. We'll see. So one of the things I had to talk about the tools and what they do. No one they had to make a piece of jewelry. We did that. Now they have to take something from nature and wire wrap it.
Mm.
And they gave examples of sticks. And I'm like, that's going to break. We're in the fall. Stuff's dying.
Huh.
So it's kind of one of those where I'm like, well, stones come from nature.
Yeah.
I have buffalo teeth in my stones. I've got bone, but I'm like, that might be woo-woo. I don't know. It's like, oh my gosh. But, so Spirit is showing me patience, for one thing.
Yes.
But then I got to thinking, okay, we did jewelry wire wrapping. Well, I have some lasered out earrings that they could paint. And lasered wood is from nature.
True.
And I think that's the closest you're going to get to making a piece of jewelry out of a stick. So that's what's going to happen here. That kind of was like, oh, yeah, that's a great idea. And then, thank you, Spirit. And then I'm like, I have to teach them a jewelry making that's cultural. And it can't be woo-woo.
I was going to say, which culture, though?
It has to be cultural.
Okay.
Any culture.
Okay.
Well, I thought Tree of Life. And then it was hit with well, that could be taken as many different things.
Yes.
I'm like, it's in the Bible. I mean, Tree of Life means one thing for me, but you know what I'm saying? It's, I'm like, you could say it's in the Bible, we're good,
Mm-hmm.
So then she wanted me to know if I could teach them how to make a dream catcher, which I do make dream catchers out of copper, but I'm not sure that they're going to have the hand-eye coordination or the patience to make a dream catcher.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure why this story is relevant to the podcast, but it's just another thing of what you get put on a path and you don't understand why.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the very first day, the chatty Kathy, she tells me she's got a box of gemstones. I'm like, okay, that's cool. I said, so do I. And she goes, yeah, but they were my brother's. I'm like, oh no. He passed away. Yeah. And then in comes, I don't know if it was a mother or grandmother. And I think it was a mother. Because then she's showing me a pendant that she never takes off all the time. And she was asking me a lot of questions about silver. And that she goes, I never take it off, but it never tarnishes. I said, because you never take it off. It's the oil from your skin. Keeps silver from tarnishing. It's when you keep taking it off, putting it back on it. It'll do that. And then he was there, and I can't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say anything. No woo-woo.
That's right. No woo-woo.
And then she starts to tell me about, how her son had passed away, and that he was a big rock collector, and that he had given rocks to and so I'm concerned on what Thursday is going to bring, because it was one of those, we've talked about just because you get a hit doesn't mean you share it.
True.
It was one of those situations where I don't know if Spirit's just trying to teach me patience, because we've all established Carrie doesn't like to be told no, and she's not very patient. So I don't know if this is supposed to be some sort of lesson on just because you know doesn't mean you share.
You'll find out in the end.
I know I will. But, when you're on, excuse me, Kim has been fighting a cough, and I've been fighting a sinus infection. So
Yeah.
we're trying to push through this. But part of your spiritual awakening, you're going to run into situations like this. Like, okay, well, I'm getting all these psychic hits, but I can't say. And it's not because, you don't have faith in what you're saying. It's not the appropriate place.
Right.
Because the person who invited me is a friend of mine, and she knows all about the podcast. She knows I'm psychic, and she's a closet empath.
Mm-hmm.
And I've done some readings for her, and she's totally into this. But she's a Girl Scout leader, and it's sad that she can't be herself. But I get it.
Right. She set the boundary, though, so we have to respect it.
She set the boundary. Yeah.
Exactly.
And I totally do. But the fact that she asked me, I said, now you know. She goes, I know. I said, okay, well, control it. If I am asked, and I kept going that like, oh, don't ask me. Like, don't ask me if I'm psychic. Because people would do that. Are you psychic? Yeah.
Yep.
We're not talking about anything spiritual, but all of a sudden it's like, hey, are you psychic? And so it's kind of interesting to see where this is going to go, but you're going to run into these kind of roadblocks. You're on the path, it's put in front of you. You're doing what you're supposed to be doing. All of a sudden you got this roadblock. Oh, I'm getting a read. I'm getting a hit, but okay, I can't say anything.
Yep.
But yet might be down the road.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
But it's like, okay, and a lot of times, we do get hits and we don't share them when we should. And sometimes we get a hit and we share it when we shouldn't. And sometimes it's difficult in that awakening stage, and you're developing abilities to know, should I or shouldn't I? And I have found that when it's persistent, that's a sign that you should.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If someone is being pushy, then that message needs to come out. And if it's not being pushy, you might want to marinate that for a minute and see, okay, that was a hit, but no one's being pushy. If spirit wants me to communicate it, it will come up again.
Right.
And if it comes up a second time, then that's usually, for me personally, okay. Like if I'm in a public restaurant, the spirit's going to be pretty pushy
Yeah.
for me to do it. And it does happen. It's, being sometimes the right place and the right time. And sometimes it's just the message is so important that it needs to be spoken. And as you go down this awakening path, you're going to find that happens more often.
Yes.
Like I said, I got a hit, but I didn't say anything. And it wasn't pushy. He was in the room. He was watching. He was hanging back. I didn't need to let her know he was there.
Mm-hmm.
What was that going to change at that point? Because you're also dealing with young children who may not understand what you're talking about.
True. And
Yeah.
may not be ready for anything like that to be introduced
Correct.
to them
Yeah.
or whatever. So, yeah.
Yeah. I did have a situation the other night. It was probably about 4 or 5 days ago. My boyfriend's brother, he passed away this morning, but he was in hospice and he was ill. And, my boyfriend was calling me from the hospital, and I had a room full of people. I was just like, okay, well, he's got a lot of people with him when it's time. I said, and there's a really pushy woman that loves him fiercely, and she'll be the one to lead him back. And it was just nonstop. And it was just, it was very, very intense. And I told him everything I was seeing, and I was just, sometimes when you give a reading, you're almost like in a trance kind of thing where you're just saying things as they're being said to you.
Right.
So you're not thinking about what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
You're just saying it.
Mm-hmm.
And his brother was in the stage of transitioning where he had a foot in both worlds. So he could understand what you said to him and could communicate with you, but not for any length of time.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I'm giving all this information, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm supposed to tell him this, but I hope I'm not overwhelming him because this is his brother.
Right.
And he told me who the woman was. It was Mama D is what they called her, Mama D. And that wasn't his real mother, but that was she raised him.
Mm-hmm.
It was his mother. And I was getting all this stuff, and I said she's very fiercely protective of him, and she loves him, and she's been waiting, and she's going to be the one there. And he goes, well, I didn't tell you this. I said, well, he goes, well, when I walked in the room, his hand was reaching towards the ceiling.
Mm.
But see, what he did, and I didn't know the purpose of the reading, but he went back in that room, and he told his brother everything I said.
Oh, wow.
Now, he didn't say, my psychic girlfriend, Carrie, you remember her. She said all this. He was just gave him the message that I gave to him. Mama D's going to be here with you. And I told him, I said, he's already seen her. He has seen her. She's been there. I said, but there's a whole lot of people. He was telling him everything I said, and it made his brother smile. Sometimes we don't understand what that message is really about, and that's okay. We don't need to.
Right.
But it was intense and it was pushy, and she wanted him to know she was coming for him, that it's going to be okay. And I had to tell him, I said, you need to tell him it's okay. And he kept saying he was tired. I'm just tired. I said, you need to tell him it's okay. And that reading really shook me because I've never had a reading like that before.
Mm-hmm.
Which, does that mean I'm going farther down that spiritual awakening path? Or it was just something different because it was very intense. The words were coming up very fast. It was this, 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 this. And then to hear that he didn't hesitate. He went in there and told his brother everything I said.
Yeah.
And, that was Spirit's way of getting the message to him. And I was just the vessel.
Right.
But being he was in such a, emotional state, my boyfriend, because, why wouldn't he be? If it wasn't intense, I probably wouldn't have said everything.
Right.
Because he'd already cried on the phone. You don't want to get him upset because he's going to be going back in the room, and so all these things go through your mind. And it also brought flashbacks of when Mom transitioned.
Right. Exactly.
I'm telling him what steps were next. I said, this is what's coming next. When he gets to this stage, it's just a matter of time. Spirit used me and then used my boyfriend to get the message to him to let him know what was coming. And it was all good.
Right.
And he kept reaching for the ceiling. So he was seeing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it was something. But that's again where we need to. If I didn't allow and surrender to that, what would have happened? He still was going to transition. She still was going to be there with him.
Right, exactly.
So nothing was going to change there. But I think it helped him let go.
Well, I think it also helped your boyfriend.
Yeah, gave him peace.
Gave him peace to give peace to his brother.
Yeah, so I mean, and sometimes I think that, my service, because, we talked about the final step is awareness and service. I'm beginning to think that is my service, is just doing psychic readings. I don't charge for them. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I've been told I need to start doing that. But
I think only if you feel that is what you need to do.
yeah, if I were to set up a table someplace, I would.
Right.
But people are finding me. I think I've charged for one reading, and they did contact me and wanted me to come to their home and do a reading. And so I did charge her for that reading.
Right.
But I don't know. I may get to that stage in my life to do that. Who knows? But it just right now, it just seems like this is what I'm supposed to be doing in my path.
Exactly.
And one day Kim will do readings.
Well, I will probably
She's sly about it.
I do my readings at the craft fair. They're drawn to me and they tell me, and I tell them what I know, or
what you're getting,
what I'm getting. But I do it more in a conversational type thing. It's hard to explain. Anyway,
I get it.
I share the message with them, but without saying this person told me this is who I'm getting, this is who I'm seeing, because it's just
you're being covert.
I'm a covert psychic.
Yeah, with one foot in the closet.
But I do feel that is my purpose too. I also feel that while I'm crocheting, I've talked about it before, that I am trying to make certain that I am in a good mindset and feeling good about what I'm doing and everything, to bring whoever gets this, feels happiness and joy whenever they purchase the item.
Yeah, you don't want the wrong energy going in.
Right. I focus on that because a lot of people have a lot of memories when they see what I make. And we go through that journey together. Maybe someday I'll do more, but that at this point is where I'm drawn with,
I like to tease you, give you a hard time, but you're on the path you're supposed to be on. So
yeah, I feel good about it.
Yeah.
And in the end, I took that leap of faith, which we all need to do.
So I like to tease you and give you a hard time, but I'm also fiercely protective of my sister.
As I am of you.
Yeah, so, I can give her a hard time, nobody else can. All right. So, Kim, you ready to wrap this up?
Yes, I definitely am.
Okay. All right. Thank you, listeners, for checking in and listening to this episode of Psychic Bent. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Spiritual Awakening. We've got a couple interesting topics coming down the turnpike. It's funny. We said this before. We'll get maybe one, and that'll be it. Well, that's that episode. And then we'll get like boom, boom, boom. And we had a boom, boom, boom moment. So we got some very interesting things coming your way.
Yes, we do.
All right, listeners, thank you for tuning in, and bye.
Bye. May your light shine bright.
Thank you so much for listening to our podcast, Psychic Bent. If you enjoyed Psychic Bent, please like, follow, rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. We can be reached on Facebook at Psychic Bent Podcast. Our email address is psychicbent1@gmail.com. May your light shine bright.